welcome everyone to our October Community of Practice for IWIN. I'm Heather Penzak, Director of Innovation here with Education Systems Center at Northern Illinois University, or NIU. And today we're really excited to talk about regional collaboration for team-based challenges. As I've been in this space of work-based learning for many years, I think more and more, or I know more and more throughout these past couple of years, especially as communities are thinking about scale, as they're thinking about supports, making sure all students have access to these types of opportunities. Regional initiatives have really become more and more the thing that people are putting their time into. I even see some Lake County folks on here. Hey, Anthony just did a big regional career exploration event. So just excited to continue to share practices and community models about how people are implementing regional opportunities and supporting at a regional level. So I'm going to turn to our presenters here in just a moment. But really quick, those of you who might be newer to IWIN or not familiar with Ed Systems, where our organization is with that facilitates IWIN, Ed Systems is really focused on this vision of a clear, unambiguous path. So really thinking about how do we not make it so hard for a student transitioning from secondary to post-secondary or post-secondary to career to really understand what it is they want to do, how they know that that's something they want to do, and how they really have reflected and been informed to make those decisions. And work-based learning is such a key component of those. We all in this space, I'm sure, have our stories about the student who wanted to be a lawyer and then was like, wow, there's a lot of reading in this. I don't really like this so much anymore. Or the student who wanted to be a nurse and fainted at the sight of blood, right? That's kind of the common story. And so work-based learning can be such a key high quality component of helping students really create a more unambiguous path and understand what it is they want to do at a very deep level. So within Ed Systems, we do work at both policy and practice level. So we're working with our state agency partners, but we're also working closely in communities to help understand and provide expertise and guidance and resources and all the learnings that we've had as they're also implementing their work-based learning efforts. And we also do a lot through impact in terms of our data, understanding what data you're collecting, what you're doing with that data when you collect it, and how you're using that to really inform high quality change and think about opening up access and really thinking about those students furthest from opportunity. Big thing when you're especially thinking about work-based learning. And so we work in multiple areas of practice with college and career pathways generally, really thinking about that career connected, experiential learning, work-based learning. But we've also really been leading and collaborating on efforts in the state still around transitional instruction, early college coursework. We think about flexible learning, competency-based education, and through our Illinois Success Network that I know many of you are familiar with, really thinking about that collective impact as we bring communities together. So that's why we're here in this space. And one of the things we do facilitate is IWIN, the Illinois Work-Based Learning Innovation Network. And this really is here to help connect communities across the state. Many of you all kind of function in silos sometimes. You might have an English teacher who's also leading your work-based learning, or you might have a whole career center team who's leading work-based learning. And so we really want to help kind of break down those silos, bring people together to learn from one another. I know some of the best ways of kind of figuring out what it is that you're doing is to hear what other people have done and what's worked and what hasn't worked. So a lot of this is connecting communities, highlighting those really innovative models. We have a ton of resources. If you haven't checked out that IWIN site before, there's a lot of resources on that hub. And I will be sharing this presentation and recording afterwards, but lots of things there where you can learn from what people have already done to inform your work rather than starting at the beginning with a blank piece of paper. So would love for us all to just take a moment to introduce yourselves in the chat. So your name, where you're coming from, and also if there's any questions top of mind for you about team-based challenges, would appreciate you kind of putting that in the chat here. You know, a team-based challenge, we're thinking about it here in Illinois. It really is that kind of student team-based project, but students are more working on an authentic problem. So something you would see in the industry that they're trying to grapple with and solve, but it is a bit open-ended. There isn't just one solution for it. Students might come up with ways to address that authentic problem that you might have never thought about, that your industry partner might never have thought about. And there really is, I think, a key component of this team-based challenge is that industry partner mentorship. So we do a lot of project-based learning and components like that within our classrooms, especially in career technical education. That's been being done for years. But thinking about that industry mentor engagement and keeping them in the feedback loop is a real key component of a team-based challenge. So again, just take some moment here, introduce yourself, and then I will turn it here to our Regional Office of Education 47 a moment to share how they're providing regional supports, overview of some of their regional opportunities, and lots of templates and resources and things to be helpful to you all as you're navigating team-based challenges. I'll see. Okay, yeah, operating and paying for regional events, always a big one. Yes, please keep introducing yourself, putting those questions in the chat. And I'll, our presenters, as they're going through, they might address some of those as they go through. And if they don't, we'll definitely have some time for Q&A at the end too.
Well, good morning, or well, I guess afternoon now, right? We hit the noon mark. My name is Heather Waniger. One of the, I guess there's 4 of us now, Pathway Navigators. My other major partner in crime, Shannon McDonald, is also here. Her and I have been in this work for 6 years now. We got hired in the lovely year of 2020. So we started this work doing all of the things and just kind of started with 4 schools. We were working with 4 schools to implement pathways, and team-based challenges were always probably the biggest challenge of kind of understanding how to get that started or get it going. Aside from dual credit is a whole other own beast that I'm sure we've all lived in that as well for quite a while. And so when we finally got to the point where we started doing things more at a regional level, I heard it sounds like somebody just had a career exploration event. We just actually hosted ours 2 weeks, week and a half ago. On Friday, we had 1,300 students out at Sauk Valley Community College. We had 8th graders. We rotate 8th graders through a career exploration event as well, and have the same schools that we will have the team-based challenge event for. So I'll just skip. The reason we moved to a regional approach is because we are in this unique kind of northwest corner. We support 19 different school districts. Our largest school district, Sterling, has about 3,000 students in it. And then we serve Little Ohio that has 26 total students in their school district. And so we have this range of districts of like, you can stand in the corner in one specific spot in the building of Ohio, and you can see their entire school district. So it's wild. It's a little different of a kind of approach to how do we support these schools. We have schools that are specifically looking at starting the education pathway. Somebody mentioned funding. We received funding from the state from the education pathway. And once we built one pathway, there was a lot of natural kind of pathways that followed. And that's kind of where the money and the support came from, was that first education pathway grant. We since have received several after that, building and adding to schools. And so those are kind of just the overview of like what we did, why we did it, why we decided to do it. One of our biggest challenges in our school districts, especially for a district that's got 26 students in it total, is who's the person in the district that's dealing with pathways. Like, we don't have any extra staff members. There's nobody on board that's going to take this and move it on. And then on top of it, I might have 2 students that are interested in earning a pathway every 3 years. Like, it just depends on what happens. And so now who am I devoting as a staff member for these times if I have to do the dual credit, all of those pieces. And so we knew that if students were going to earn their endorsement and had to earn team-based challenges, who in the district was going to start pulling students to do this work, and building that pipeline and that pathway. And I'm going to let Shanna introduce herself and speak a little bit about, she is the pro at kind of looking at schools building a system and identifying early. That's been our mantra for this year, especially hers, like identify students in 8th grade in order to kind of get them on the pipeline. But in order to get students on the pipeline to earn 2 team-based challenges in the process of earning their pathways is why we decided to go for a regional approach. So, Shanna, I'll let you kind of speak to that and introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. Hi, my name is Shanta McDonald. As Heather said earlier, I am a pathway navigator for Regional Office of Education 47. We have 3 counties that we serve, and then we do have a couple of schools that are just a little bit outside of our county districts. Um, we partnered. The reason we have schools that are outside of that district, they are in our community college district and our career centers district. So there's a lot of overlap here and a lot of partnering that we do on a regional level. So we are working with all of our partners, not just the schools, but we're also working with the career center and we're working with the community college, and we're all working together to really support our schools and give them lots of opportunities that we can take off their plate for them. Heather mentioned our Pathway Playground. That's our really big career exploration event. We do 2 different symposiums. Those are in springs. In spring, we do an education symposium and we do a health science symposium where we bring students out, and that's for high school aged students. And then we do some other little events here and there that we bring students out to the community college. And then today we're going to really focus in on our team-based challenge day, where we do help alleviate getting one of those team-based challenges done.
So why we decided to do the work, why we had all these things come together again, it kind of went to honoring the idea that our teachers are busy, our teachers are full. From a regional standpoint, I would say out of the 18 districts that we serve, only 1 or 2 of our districts were really going to commit somebody to pathways. Everybody else was going to chunk it together. I'm going to pull the English teacher for this one. I'm going to pull a science teacher for this one. And we're going to work as a team. We're going to do some of this. We didn't have anybody really, truly just devoted to doing pathways. And so we wanted to be able to come alongside of our districts and say, hey, here are some things that we can do. Both of our symposiums count as career intensive career exploration events. So that checks the box for some of those things. The Pathway Playground checks the box for a career exploration event. So our schools kept saying, well, when are they doing team-based challenges? When are they doing team-based challenges? How do we do team-based challenges? And we first really tried to encourage them to embed it into a class, into whatever they were doing, really kind of try to hone in on, hey, not everybody that's participating in a team-based challenge has to be earning an endorsement. It's okay. It's good for students. It's a great activity for students. They don't have to be in the endorsement area, just want to be enjoying that particular endorsement topic. They don't have to be earning the endorsement. And school is just kind of like, now we're going to ask our teachers to teach another lesson. They didn't really fully understand what the team-based challenge was and how to embed it into a different course that maybe wasn't a pathway course. And so we just never really kind of got the buy-in that, hey, we're going to have all students do this. A few did, some of them get it, but it was still just a challenge. We knew we had the resources. We knew we had the time and the effort to put into team-based challenges and put into those things. Also develop good team-based challenges. All of the team-based challenges that we do during our team-based challenge day, we have pre-approved by the state. We were turning them in to Heather. We're turning them into Sophia, making sure that they were approved, making sure that they were good topics and good for students to be working on, so that we knew that the schools could use them in their portfolios and into the endorsement piece. And then it gave an opportunity for students to collaborate across districts. We did have one school district in our area that had already embedded the 2 team-based challenges into a pathway class. They were prepared to do it. And she's like, no, I think I'm still going to come out and do team-based challenge day, because then my students can work with other students from other school districts, get the opportunity to hear what it looks like in a different setting, in a different place. Everybody approaches earning these endorsements a little differently. Every district does it differently. So it gives an opportunity for students to work across districts. Shanna, did I miss anything?
I was gonna address that. Our career center has gone to doing health science team-based challenges for us as just a partnering event that also helps our schools. They have 24 schools that attend there. Not all of them are pathway schools, but I'm going back to what Heather had mentioned about it's good for all students to do. When we first started doing team-based challenges for health sciences there, I went in with a mentor from our local hospital, a nurse, and we did the first team-based challenge and kind of modeled it for the teachers there. And once we did it, they're like, that's amazing. They're like, all of our students should be doing this. So once they see it and once they understand what it is, it's a lot easier for them. So when they bring out students, and I was just checking registration before I got on here, and boy, do we have a lot of students signed up coming out to Team-Based Challenge Day next month. So, got a lot of getting ready for these students in a few weeks, but it's really exciting to see so many come out, and we do really mix them up with schools, different students from different schools, so they have to sit and first to work in that group, they got to get to know each other. And then they can begin that process of problem solving that authentic problem that we give them that day. And we get mentors from our area, which I'm sure we're going to talk about here soon.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of all of this work has been that relationship building. Again, in Shanna's and I position, we have the opportunity to build those relationships with our mentors and our industry partners. And schools are doing the very best they can, and schools are doing that work. But it's also hard. It's also hard to ask the English teacher that now all of a sudden is supposed to be in charge of a health science pathway. How do I build this relationship with industry partners? Plus, I'm really still trying to teach my English curriculum, but then bring in all these other pieces. And so Shannon and I have that opportunity to build those relationships, ask for them to come out, send the 15 emails that it takes to explain team-based challenges and ask what it is, get all of those coordinated, instead of a teacher having to do that on top of the 50 emails that she has from parents and administrators. So it also just gives us a chance to really kind of support our schools in taking that burden off of them. And we try to get them plugged into the schools as much as possible, but as much as we can do then these regional events, and they're not also then trying to do that as well. I did share a couple of resources. We can come back to this too. The evaluations is specific to Team-Based Challenge Day that we'll talk about here in a minute. But the other two links there are brochures that we have made that we pass out at a regional level. The first one's that business partnership, asking, we send this out to businesses just like, hey, we need your help, and here's all of the why and where we need your help. You can be a mentor for a Team-Based Challenge Day. You can just let a student interview you, all of the things. Like, what are we asking you as a business partner to do? Here's all of the list of things that we could ask your partnership with. It could be something that lasts 15 minutes, something that could be last one day, or something like we need you for that 60-hour experience, which is clearly a heavier load. And then, of course, what are pathways? We've been doing this work for 6 years, and we still have people in our schools that don't know what pathways are. And so it's just kind of like, come on now, folks. And we know, you've said it 50 times and somebody finally hears it. It's just kind of like being in the classroom, right? And so that what are pathways, we continue to just try to educate our community on what pathways are, and what students are doing. And then again, what students have to do to earn the endorsement, to give them an idea. Tried to take some of the teacher language out of it. So both of those, you are welcome to steal, you're welcome to take and adjust, check and adjust from what you want. I don't know. I think what I've shared here is only viewable. So if you need that shared through Canva where you can just take it, I'm happy to let you take it, make a copy of it, and then edit it yourself. I have no problem with you stealing all of it and just changing the email. I don't care. But I'm happy to share that with you on an edible side too. Okay, so what does our Team-Based Challenge Day look like? So we have our students come out. We are allowing students to come out. We ask the schools primarily to have their juniors and seniors come out. We do have a few schools that will bring out sophomores again if they've identified them early, which is something we have been saying from the mountaintop forever now. They're welcome to bring out those sophomores as well, but for the most part, we see that they're juniors and seniors. Well, last year, I guess this will be year 2 that we do it. So we're not experts for sure at it. But we definitely have jumped in and done it. And again, we've also noticed in this process, we still have students that are earning an endorsement that don't know they're earning an endorsement. Like, hey, they've had us do these things and we know we're working on this and we've said yes to some of it, but like what are we doing here? Like, why are we here? And it's like, but that's okay. So then we just kind of introduce to the students. We all meet in one room to start, no matter what pathway they're on. For our team-based challenge day, we'll have education, manufacturing, health sciences, and then this year we added IT. That pathway is, for us regionally, is just getting off the ground. We do have the other 3 up and running and have had students earn endorsements in that for the last couple of years. The IT pathway is still kind of new to us. But we have had some desire for that. So that's why we added the IT pathway this year for that. So you can see that this is last year's slide deck. So you can see that we have those 3 areas in which students will then later break off into sessions. So we just introduce, like, why are you here? Why did your teacher sign you up? Why did they ask you to come out to do this? What the day will look like, and then our expectations for them. Because again, some of these students don't even realize why they've come out. Why are they here? So the rest of the slide deck is actually what we'll use during the team-based challenge day. So again, if you decide to do one, you can start stealing it. It's fine. We're introducing that team-based challenge. We're introducing to them why they're here, what they're doing. We'll also then introduce the mentors that have come out. So we recruit the mentors to come out for this. Manufacturers are our easiest group. Manufacturers want to come out and help. They want to be a part of it. So we're very fortunate. We have a Walmart distribution center that's nearby. So that is a manufacturer that's a little different than a lot of people think about, because they're talking about the logistics and transportation and moving from point A to point B. Whereas a lot of times we automatically think manufacturing is welding, or manufacturing is that fabrication piece of it. So it's nice to have this mentor come out that is a little bit of a twist. A lot of our students that come out from manufacturing are down in the shop. They're down welding. They're down fabricating. They're down doing the things hands-on. And then we have this mentor that comes out that they do no welding in this building. They're a logistics manufacturer. They're moving product from point A to point B, and still have the team-based challenges work out in her area. We talk about slip, trips, and falls. We talk about being safe on the workplace. And so it's really interesting to be able to introduce them. We also do have a manufacturer then that Aztec screens that comes out, and they are their traditional, they have welding and big equipment and all those things. So they get that point of view from that mentor. Shandy, you want to talk about our mentor for health sciences?
Yep. So we have a great partnership with our local hospital here, CGH Medical Center. So we have a nurse that has partnered with us, probably for the last 4 or 5 years that we've been doing this. And she is just as devoted to pathway work as we are. So it's nice to have her come out and be that mentor for the students. She's really excited about it. This year, her and I actually came up with the team-based challenge for this year. We worked together on it. She knows the health care world way better than I do. So I worked with her. We came up with that team-based challenge for this year. So we're pretty excited about moving forward with that. And she's just been there as our partner. She's out there for Health Science Symposium. She's out there for Pathway Playground. She's just there with us all along the way. So it's really nice to have her and her support.
The other thing I'll say about this particular slide too is the students know the essential employability competencies. They don't maybe always know that that's the title of them, but they do know them, the soft skills. They have had those conversations, right, in their classrooms. So we just kind of introduce that vocabulary to them. And then their technical skills, most of them, I say by the time they get to team-based challenge, other than maybe some of those sophomores, have at least seen the technical skills somewhere in this process or somewhere along the lines, but may not have put them into practice or into use quite yet. And so we also introduce these to them in that large group setting, that this is what they're doing. So then we introduce what their goals and outcomes are for the day. We let them know, okay, so you're not going to stay in this huge group of all of these students. Our education students are out working with our health science students, clearly. And so we just break them off, introduce them to what's happening, and then they're off into their small groups for the rest of the day. So the first half hour of the day, they're in that large group. And then after we've introduced all of those pieces, they break off into throughout our community college, and then really get into their specific groups. They get into their specific times. This is when the mentors can really speak to them one-on-one, have those kind of conversations about what the authentic problem is for the day, and their expectations, what the mentor's expectations are for their students for that day. We introduce to them in that big, large group in that first half hour that they will have to present. They know that before they come out, but reality sets in that we've now said it, not just their teacher, that they will actually have to present to the group of what to do, and let them know what the day looks like. Having the conversation with them about what this team-based challenge looks like, what the day is going to look like. As educators, we know the biggest challenge is letting students fail. Letting them know that, hey, in this process today, as you are introduced to that authentic problem and you're given the opportunity to solve this problem, when the mentor comes back to you and says, hey, I want you to look at this again, this is why this may not work, or why I want you to do this differently, that learning to fail and learning to learn from that feedback. So we spent a little bit of time talking about, hey, this mentor has been in this process for a lot of years. We've asked these mentors to come out because they are people that want you to succeed in what you choose to do after high school. We're going to give you that feedback. So we talk about this process of what this looks like today, that it's not just a, here, I'm going to hand you an assignment, here's the problem, and then you get to present on it at the end of the day. Like, there is really this process of what's going to happen today and what we expect from you. And the feedback, take the feedback from your mentor. It's not somebody that's normally in education, other than the education ones, clearly. But your manufacturing, your health sciences, these are professionals from the industry that are not educators, and they're here to help you in this process. So take that feedback and learn from them, give them the opportunity to do that. And then we go over those technical competencies and those essential employability, let them understand. So these are, when we do the team-based challenges, they're not doing all of the technical competencies. They're not doing all of the essential employability competencies. So here are the ones that you're focusing on today. Here's what you need to be able to hit and what you need to be able to have the conversation about when you're presenting and when you are speaking to your mentor. So we introduce the ones that we are specifically asking them to address during their team-based challenges. Shanda, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. We do provide the students with a self-assessment on these at the end of the day as well.
Ask them to present, and again, their presentations at the end of the day, they go through the morning. So after we break off into their individual groups and where they're going to spend their day, they get broken into their small 3 to 4 student groups, and then they get to choose. And we provide this for them as a allowing them, open that door for them to say, hey, it's okay for you to choose something other than the PowerPoint. they're not great about not doing the PowerPoints because I feel like they have that down well. I did have one group last year make a video. They made kind of a commercial in the manufacturing group. They did make a commercial about how to be safe in the workplace. So we did have one group kind of go out of their comfort zone a little bit. Shanda, I don't know how sciences did you have them do?
Well, we also provide like poster stuff. So we bring out markers and poster board, and we bring out things that you could create a poster with if you wanted to. So in health sciences, we only had one group make a poster. Everybody else stuck with the Google Slides. It's just their comfort zone is what they know. But in the education room where they were doing their presentations, there was a wide variety. So there were some that had created a video, some did posters, some did a little skit. They were way more creative than our health science and our manufacturing, which is what we want with our future educators. So it is kind of fun to see what they come up with.
So we just provide them an opportunity, let them know that this is what they are going to do. We did find our manufacturing students were a little more challenging to keep engaged throughout the day. They were much more of like, let's get it done and then move on to the next thing. They were super interested in going down to the workshop and the welding shop down at the college. A lot of them actually, their relationship with a couple of the instructors at our community college are also then connected to the Career Center, which is also then connected to some of our local high schools. So some of them were just kind of like, we just want to go down there instead. And it's like, guys, focus. Come on. So we did have our manufacturing students were quick to kind of like, here, we're going to throw this PowerPoint together and then like wander this college. And so it was like, hey guys, come back. Let's talk to our mentors. Let's talk to these. And so we kind of challenged them to think beyond the basic PowerPoint, to see if we could get them. We'll see if that goes better this year. We learned from last year, make it a little different. So
Maybe the teachers will have learned from last year too.
that's true too. And then we lay out for them what their expectations are for the day. So here's what we expect from you today. As you're working in your groups, what we want you to be able to do, what that morning looks like. So we've done that whole large group morning. They've then broken off into their small groups. They've had time to work through the team-based challenge in their small groups and with their mentors. We break for lunch. We eat lunch. We feed them, eat for lunch. And then after the lunch is then when they come back and they present to their immediate, immediate endorsement group. So we don't have health science students presenting to the education students. Probably could, well, actually we couldn't because there just wouldn't be enough time to have that many groups present back to that big, large group. And then we figured it was best just to kind of keep them within the realms of their endorsement areas, so that they can get feedback from the other groups and then from their mentors, and can kind of see how that's done. So they present back. And then once that group was done presenting, they dismissed for the day and went home. So then they broke off into their area groups, into where they were supposed to go. And so that's how we introduced and what we did with our students for that particular day, and gave them the opportunity to work with other schools, with other teachers, and with mentors that most of them have never worked with before. All right. Shanna, did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think that pretty much sums it up.
All right. So I'll stop sharing for now. I was trying to keep up on the chat. So I think I did it. Anything we can answer for you or anything that you've experienced that will help us in a couple weeks?
So, hi, I'm Anthony. How many students did you have in this event?
I'll let Shanda answer that.
Last year, I'd say it was probably around 150 maybe last year. My numbers are looking like they might be a little bit higher this year, so maybe closer to 200 this year.
Awesome. That's great. And then were you the authors of the team-based challenges, or did you have volunteers?
Yeah, Heather and I normally we work together and write those. As she said earlier, we do send them down to Sophia this year now to make sure that they will be accepted in our school's plans, because we don't want to do a team-based challenge that's going to get denied. So we do want to do that preemptive work to make sure that it is. But yeah, her and I think Heather and I have been through this team-based challenge process, well, 6 years now, and we've gone to everything we could go to learn how to do this. We've worked with everybody down, Heather Lucan. We worked with her a lot on creating our team-based challenges, and now Sophia. So we're getting better at it. Every time we write them, we're getting better at it.
You bet. And then how did you orchestrate lunch in terms of paying for it? Did the schools pay for their own students, or did you pay for them as a region? Like, how did you do that?
To be completely honest with you, I don't know exactly how we pay for it, other than our boss. She's the director of professional development and something at the ROE, knows how to get grant money. If there's grant money out there for pathway work, we have it. And so she just ensures that we have that money, and I like to stay out of that part of it. I just like to do the work with the schools. But she is excellent at grant writing.
I will say, because I know food is one of the things we're not allowed to spend money on, right? So our relationship with the community college is in kind of all of the things that we do, even from things that are not related to pathway work. We host a lot of our summits and a lot of our symposiums for all areas, or our early childhood summit that we're doing for our early educators is out at the community college as well. And so our ops funds that are in our office that are not specific for pathways, but just our general operating fund, is typically what she pays that out from. So if we are under the blanket of pathways, all of the supplies, everything to run the day gets paid out of our pathway work, but then our office pays for the food section out of something different other than the pathway grant. So because we do so much out of our office, Shanda and I are a little piece of our entire professional learning team. So the food part for pathway works never comes out of our pathway funds. It comes out of our professional learning funding that gets funding from all over, whether it's other grants or whether it's from operating funds that our schools do pay in. We do have, don't quote me on the number of schools, out of all of our schools in the area, some of them pay a co-op fee for our services in all areas, from truancy to all of the things. And so anything that's not allowed to be paid for with the pathway grant gets paid out of that section, the funding. And then everything else that we can in the pathway funding is then clearly paid for with pathways. So there's kind of that loop around that we use. Because I know everybody's like, dude, how do you pay for this? And I know food is always one of those things, like, you can't buy food with this, but you can't have 150 kids come out all day long and not feed them. So
Okay.
For our health science symposium, we do get sponsors from. We have 3 area hospitals that cover our 3 counties, and we get they sponsor that day, so we do sponsorships for that. So
We run a manufacturing, an METT team-based challenge day, and we'll get manufacturers to donate to it, which helps. And when you throw in some other things, tools or cardboard, they also tend to be able to bring in those things without a problem either. So
yeah, our manufacturers, they're all on board.
yeah,
If you ask them for anything, they will say yes, typically.
yeah, they do. They
Yeah.
do. They come out.
Yeah, they are very interested in recruiting that next generation of workforce. And so they are so willing to do almost anything.
Thank you. This is really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's just the 2 of you that do this then? in your office, are the two people who are designated for this type of work?
Pretty much, yeah. We have
Yeah.
a new member to our team, but she's gonna work mostly with middle schools and like their career exploration kind of thing. And then we have one other team member, and she works with just one of our schools. But then Heather and I do the rest of it.
Does sound like then there was a question about, is this something that students or schools pay for? No, or they've paid in their fee for the ROE to kind of just support them on all things. And so this event is free to them. And okay.
We did really struggle. Full transparency. So our first 4 schools that had their first grant back in 2020, of course, that grant has sunsetted. And so they're no longer part of quote unquote our pathway schools because that grant sunsetted. And so when we were planning events and doing these large regional events, it was like, well, they're not technically in the grant anymore, but we built a pathway with them. We spent 4 years coaching and training and doing all the things. Like, we can't all of a sudden pull the rug out from underneath them and go, haha, you used this for these 4 years and we have this event going on. Like, you don't get to come out anymore. And so we just decided that we were going to continue using funding that came from, I think we've been awarded 5 pathway grants. We had like 4, 4, 3, and then it slowly kind of dwindled down. And we just continue to use the funding that comes in. What we will do when all of them sunset, to be determined. We'll see if Shannon and I still have jobs. But
We might be calling Heather.
right.
Hey, hire us.
Right. So we just decided as a team that we would be kind of diligent in the funding that we received from pathway grants later in our experience. That we would save those for a lot of those regional events so that we didn't have to tell those first 4 and that second, actually our second pathway grant is also sunsetted. Their students couldn't come out to these events. They built a pathway based off of these events. So we didn't want to pull them out from underneath the rug and be like, now you got to figure it out. So we have been very specific with those later pathway grants, that they would support these regional events. In order for us to be able to continue to support all our local schools.
I'm from Chicago Public Schools. We actually do a significant amount of team-based challenges per year. This year, given the College and Career Pathway endorsement, we're trying to focus more on providing a lot more team-based challenge opportunities for our students. But we host about 100 students per event. But I like the idea of you hosting a team-based challenge day. I don't know if that's something that we could facilitate given the size of our district, but we have talked about doing, actually I have 2 schools that are coming to 2 team-based challenges that I have in the upcoming months. And we actually would like them to compete against each other for their second team-based challenge. So it's kind of going to be a mini version of what you presented. So I'm actually really excited to see how that goes.
Yeah. It's funny to have some of that bit of that competition piece in it too. For some of them, they kind of step up their game a little bit too when they think there's a competition involved.
Yeah, I mean, we do have so we have actually a team-based challenge scheduled this week, and we do have 4 schools competing against each other technically, but it's obviously friendly competition. But yeah, we'll see.
For sure. Yeah, it's fun.
I had a question, but I'll leave it. I don't know if someone else has something. I'm curious, a lot of this is, so if students are going towards the endorsement, right, you'd have to track that they completed this. I'm curious how you either communicate to your schools who completed it, or schools know, like, what does that look like? Because you have so many schools coming to kind of do the record keeping of it. I don't know if you know what schools are doing.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So every school brings chaperones. We don't let kids just come out without them. We'll provide this event, but they need to provide the chaperones. So the chaperones are there, so they know who's there. Each school registers their own students, so they know which students are coming. But the mentors in each room, they fill out a rubric that we have. I think it's in the slides, correct? Yes. You'll see our rubric, so they fill that out. They provide feedback for each group that presents. And then I know for me, for health sciences, I stay in that room And then I take the rubrics, I take them back to the office. I make sure that everybody gets a digital copy for their student, so they can put them in their portfolios at their school. Every one of our schools has a different format for portfolios. We really try to encourage everyone to use Zello because our EFE pays for all of our high schools to have Zello, but that's not the case. So some schools are keeping a paper copy of portfolios. I have one school district, well, two of them that have created a web page for their portfolio, so the students do it all electronically. So it's just really different. And then I spoke about the self-assessment for the students, so they get a paper copy of that at the event to fill out and assess on themselves. And then they take that back, and if they have to scan it in and put it into their portfolio, if it's electronic, or if they just make a copy, give one to the school, and then put one in their paper copy portfolio.
And I will say that was one of our biggest logistical kind of lessons we learned last year, because you had, a student from Sterling, a student from Rock Falls, a student from Amboy all working together in this small group. And then they presented, like, how do we get all of it back to the right school and the right student and the right thing? And oh my goodness. And who's doing that, where and why, and all of the things. So that definitely, and then for some of them, we had a couple of schools. Again, you've got a school that has, maybe 10 kids coming. So they have one chaperone, but they're in maybe 3 different groups. Clearly that teacher isn't in with each group. So there was a little bit of logistics that came into that we have problem solved since, of just really in that very beginning, giving the instructions to the person, whatever ROE person that's in each designated space, to say, hey, before you get started, we need you to do this, your name, your school. And so we did kind of work through that logistics. That was probably one of our biggest learning curves from doing this last year. Was we got to the end and we had these stacks of papers and we were like, oh shoot, like their names on it, but what school were they from? And like, we can figure that out because they'd registered, but it took us a lot more work on the back end that last year of going, why didn't we just have the kid write their name and school and their teacher's name on it instead of like later going back and doing that? So there were some logistical things of that actual day running, of getting the data back to. That was definitely a learning curve that we were like, wait, load this up front, make the kids do the work, not us do all the work on the back end. So
In all of our big events, we learn from them. So every time we do them again, we learn from our mistakes the first time or the second time or the third time, and we just keep improving. So this year, I have every bit of confidence it's going to go smoother than last year.
our own team-based challenges, right? Welcome to life.
It is our own team-based challenge.
I like that. I like that. It's very meta, right? Yeah.
Right?
No, appreciate that. Thank you. It sounds like you have multiple checks and balances on that too, right? Like if something got missed here, you figured out something somewhere else. But I know that's a big, like if you do these regional events, well, how do you know that a student actually attended or completed that regional thing? So thank you.
Yeah.
But just want to say thank you to both of you, Heather and Chanda. You do incredible work. Like you are a mighty, mighty team of 2, spreading the love of regional team-based challenges in the area. And you've also got the funding. You've got Angie Garza, right? So she's kind of magical. She'll find you your money. You'll be doing this forever. If you all don't know, Angie Garza and the whole ROE 47 team, their website was linked in this event, but I'll also include it in this presentation. They just have a ton of resources. So whether you work with this region or not, like I would very much encourage you to check out what they have on their site, go to some of their events. Like I think you all still put on like a transitional English summit every year. Like they do a ton to support pathways in their region, but they're also just really a model for the state. So I very much encourage you all to go look and check out what they have on their website. It could help you in many ways beyond what you've learned about today. But just thank you again for sharing, and good luck in a couple of weeks here, right? It's going to be even more fabulous than last year.
And we are always happy to help. And we know both Shannon and I were both educators before we came into this role. So we know what it's like to try to have to do this from a ground up or any of those things. So anything you need to steal, anything you need, if anything you need, we are happy to share it, happy to send it. So please just, both Shannon and I's emails are in that slide deck, and we are happy to share any of those things, or as you work through our process of something else. we have it, we will gladly share it with you.
As we just wrap up here, so next Friday, November 7th, we do still have a few spots left. I'll put this registration in the chat here in a moment, but next Friday, we're going to be over at Triton College. The Des Plaines Valley region is going to showcase their regional team-based challenges in welding, CNA, criminal justice, and in education. If you can't make it, I usually write up a bit of a blog or a follow-up of all the different resources and information that they share. So that will be coming out too, but excited for a fall in-person event. And then virtually, we have 2 kind of webinars to wrap up 2025 here. One on November 12th, which is a roundtable. Roundtables are not presentations like this. They really are just a moment when we're all coming together. I don't record them. It's just a space to talk about, continuing on this regional lens. What does regional partnership development look like? And I think you heard a bit today, that capacity for individual schools to really be doing that partnership outreach it's a lot to ask, especially depending on who inside that school is the person in charge, right? Asking an English teacher to recruit partners, design work-based learning, still run English courses, do all the other things is a lot. And so I know more and more communities, as they're thinking about both regional events, they're also thinking more about regional partnerships. But we also know that comes with tension because schools have worked really hard to develop partnerships, and now translating that into a regional partnership is not always an easy move. So just going to open up a conversation there. And then December 2nd, if you haven't checked them out already, the Learning Technology Center is an incredible resources for all things technology for Illinois. They offer, if they were to work with a whole ROE, I believe they offer those things at no cost, right? If they work school by school, I think there can be a cost, but if they're working with a whole community, don't hold me to it, but they do tend to offer those supports at no cost. So they're just an incredible resource, and they're going to come on and share with IWIN about AI and all the different tools that you can use, both from a work-based learning kind of coordinator role, right? Like how could you use that to design pieces, to develop materials, but how could you also think about AI in an intentional way for students to be engaged with it, to still have that experiential learning component? Although I know that can be a bit fraught because what do the schools actually allow students to access, right? But they're going to come on and just share their expertise as you might be grappling with, well, how do I use AI in my work around work-based learning? How should or could I engage students with it? So that should be a great community of practice. Otherwise, that's me. I'm Heather. Email similar here. Email me at any time with anything that you need. Then yes, thank you all for being here.